honestly wasn't a big fan of season 2. Big Appetite and Little Tokyo. So it starts off with this like monster episode where Shaggy is supposedly turning into a monster and eating buildings and stuff, and he's like not hungry. So that makes him a suspect because Shaggy's always eating. I don't even remember why. Because he wasn't actually the monster, so I don't remember why he wasn't actually hungry. Because that episode was kind of boring, which a lot of season 2 episodes were. There's some decent humor here and there, but I mostly didn't like this season. Mummy Scares Best. That one was okay. They bring back O'Reilly from season 1, which is the first time they've done that. Any of the other characters that didn't turn out to be bad guys and were like popular people that they pretended that they already knew, because they acted like Fred was like a big fan of O'Reilly, but that was the first time we met him in season 1. Then he comes back in this season, and that's the only character so far that's ever done that besides the one little kid from the science fair in episode 2 or 3 of season 1, and that alien episode. The Fast and the Wormiest, we get this new dude, Gibby, that Velma doesn't like because he's like smart, but he's also annoying. High-Tech House of Horrors. That one was crazy. It opens up with someone basically getting murdered, and then later they're like, oh no, they were fine. Like, it opens up with this girl basically drowning because of the house like malfunctions or something. And then they're like, oh, no, she survived. She didn't drown. They do that a lot this season. Like, one person gets eaten in an episode, and then they wait until the end of the episode to be like, oh, yeah, they're okay. There's one where these burglars get basically killed in the thing. They're like, no, don't do it. And then the monster, like, drops them from high up. And then they wait till, like, halfway through the episode to be like, no, the burglars barely got away. So they're fine. But they barely got away. They do that a lot this season. It's crazy. Vampire Strike Backs, we get the Hex Girls, who were introduced just a few years ago at the time this show came out in the 1999 direct-to-DVD movie. But yeah, they show up in this one. They were fine. Scooby-Doo Halloween, that one was kind of boring. New Mexico Old Monster Fran Psycho Part 1. Oh, that's called Part 1. That's weird. There's no Part 1 and Part 2 in this show. Plan and the Invisible Madman. It's an invisible man, and then they end up telling us that like 4 of the characters were the bad guys the whole time. It was crazy. Very different episode. Like, oh yeah, remember that character? They're a bad guy. Remember that character? They're a bad guy. Remember that character? They're a bad guy. Remember that character? They're also a bad guy. It was a very different episode. Large Dragon at Large sucked. Like, it was boring. And they reused the dinosaur roar from season 1. There was a reason why it sounded like that in this first season. They had a reason. They're like, oh, it was because of this high-tech equipment, and that's how they did it. There's no reason for why the dragon roars in this. It's not the same equipment or anything. They were just lazy and reused the T-Rex's roar from season 1. Well, these are all out of order, though. I'm pretty sure like the dragon one was the first one I watched on HBO. Uncle Scooby in Antarctica was okay. And just skip over episode 13. Jeez. Uncle Scooby in Antarctica. No, that one was fine. Scooby becomes friends with the penguin. It's all Greek to Scooby. Was pretty cool. That's really about it. I wasn't the biggest fan of this. There was a cat one, I remember. It was very different. But I did have a criticism of that. Like back in season 1, episode 6, Shaggy barks at this cat and scares it away, and it disappears under a statue. And in this season, he barks at a cat, and that makes him suspicious. Here's the context. Scooby's been kidnapped and replaced with a dog that looks just like him, and he's nothing like Scooby. He's not scared of monsters or anything, and he never talks either. And he attacks Fred when he accidentally steps on his tail. So later he barks at a cat and chases it, and Shaggy's like, "Oh my god, he would never bark at a cat and chase it." That happened in season 1, bro. What? Okay. It was him not being scared of monsters and him not talking and him attacking Fred not enough evidence? Like, come on. And they never even mentioned the fact that he doesn't talk as, a thing for you to be suspicious of him. I'm the one that mentioned that. And the monster ends up being like Shaggy's friend that was introduced in that episode called Meadow. It was weird. Yeah, that's about it.